Some of your viewers, I'm sure, would have seen some of the videos coming out of the camp. I apologise, Kay, I don't know if they've been shown on Sky News. I witnessed them myself on BBC News last night. They are horrific. 120 Palestinians killed, including many, many children. I'm finding hard to get out of my head the image of a father searching for the body of his 3 children amongst the rubble. And there is a danger that we become immune at the scale of what is happening because we become numb to the statistics. There are now over, just concentrating on children, since Israel began its bombardment, there are now over 3,500 children killed in Gaza, over 6,300 injured. That means 420 children a day are being killed or injured. A child is being killed every 10 minutes. That's maybe how we can try to make sense of this. But what we are also now dealing with, Israel has justified the attack on Jalabia on the basis that it killed a Hamas commander. So we are now being asked to accept, the international community is being asked to accept that Israel's developed a new model of proportionality that says it regards it as acceptable to kill a single Hamas commander, to kill more than 120 Palestinians, including children. This is unacceptable. And really the only human response to what's going on is to call for an immediate ceasefire.
Is it acceptable for Hamas to hide under refugee camps?
Well, this notion, and we see this argument being used, and I keep coming back to the framework of international law. We hear the phrase used, human shields. Human shields is defined in international law. It makes it clear it is illegal for someone deliberately to place civilians in harm, but it also makes it clear that you cannot use that term to justify attacking urban areas where there are densely populated areas where there are many, many civilians, on the basis that you need to do that in order to kill armed fighters who are there. So this is the issue. What is happening here? And we are being told also by Israel that this operation it's undertaken is going to increase casualties, that this may go on for 3 months. As I said, over 8,500 Palestinians killed, 3,500 children in just over 3 weeks. Are we expected to accept the argument that it is justified for Israel, in order, in its language, to destroy Hamas, to kill, what, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 Palestinians? When is the international community, when are our leaders going to say this is enough? This has to stop. The killing has to stop. We have to find the political solution, but there must be a ceasefire now.
Well, I ask British, UK politicians, both sides of the House, that question whenever I can, and they say that will not happen for now. There could be a humanitarian pause, but there will not be a ceasefire.
Well, they have moral agency, don't they? They can say that cannot happen as if they don't have the capacity to call for a ceasefire, and they do. So they are making a moral choice, and it's a basic moral test at the moment. And this is a test being failed by all of our main political leaders at the moment. Not everybody, but certainly the leaders of the Conservative Party, the Labour Party. I saw Keir Starmer's interview yesterday, and he was pressed repeatedly on the question. He kept referring to international law. When he was asked the question, well, is Israel violating international law? Is this indiscriminate bombing that's killing civilians a violation of international law? He said, well, I can't judge that. I have to wait for that to be judged. He was asked the question, is it morally justified? He said, I can't judge that. I'll have to wait for an assessment of that from other people. When he was asked during the bombardment, during his Russia's invasion of Ukraine, whether the targeting of civilians was a war crime, he was able to say straightforwardly, yes, of course it is. He didn't need to wait. He didn't need to be told. He could make a moral and a legal judgment based on what was happening. That should be the same standard that's applied now. There is no moral justification not to call for a ceasefire, and our leaders have moral agency.
Can Israelis be safe while Hamas still operates?
Well, look, ultimately, we're going to have to find a political solution for this. And that means also addressing the fact that the clock didn't start ticking on this on October the 7th. So international law has to be the framework. what Hamas did on October the 7th, because it targeted and killed civilians, was a violation of international law. That needs to be dealt with within the framework of international law, and we need to deal with the root causes, which, Keir Starmer himself addressed yesterday, but he didn't want to name them. And we need to name them. There's an ongoing military occupation. There is the imposition for decades of a system of oppression on the Palestinian people. And that needs to end. And that needs an entire shift in the way this has been dealt with for decades. Israel needs to be held accountable for its violations of international law, for the imposition of a system of military occupation. That's the framework within which we need to deal with it. And Hamas's actions need to be treated within the same framework of international law. That's the only standard we can apply. But what we're being asked to accept at the moment, that in order to justify its security, we have to stand by, not call for a ceasefire, while Israel kills tens of thousands of Palestinians, including thousands and thousands of children. At what point do we start to say this is actually an act of genocide? We have scholars of crimes against humanity are saying this is developing now as a test case of genocide. This has to stop. There has to be a ceasefire, and then there needs to be real energy, proper application of principles of international law and human rights to deal with the root causes of this situation.